And I'm back. In part number 1, we were examining this kind of unusual opening that we found ourselves in as DRG up against MMA, where MMA did this barracks business in the middle of the map. We killed it off, but we didn't overreact to it. Now I see 2-port banshee after an expand in a reactor barracks? What? And I pose the question, what do we do now? The most important thing as a player that you can do for yourself, for your learning, is be really good at asking really specific questions. The more specific you can get, the better. Now, if you're, like let's say you're a Bronze League player, you really like StarCraft 2, you want to improve, and you know that your mechanics need work. Your APM is low and you're forgetting workers. Don't worry about getting really specific with your questions. Like, if my opponent is also bronze and has forgotten SCVs and I'm in this situation, he has this many units, should I get a factory? Like, that's totally fine. But in this circumstance, this is what I'm talking about. I said, what do we do as Dong Rei Gu? And when you look at a situation where you're unsure, make sure that you're aware of the question that you're asking. The question the reason I say frame it as a question is because it feels like a question. Right now, you might say to yourself, well, I know I want to get a layer, but should I get my layer now? Should I wait to get my layer? Do I need to add on more queens? Should I be droning right now? Should I get upgrades? These are all really specific questions that are not the general things like, do I want to go Ling Infester or do I want to go Ling Muta? Right? That's kind of like a more general thing. I'm talking like specific, ultra drill deep kind of junk. So, in this position, almost always, if your opponent is doing non-basic units, and the basic units I would call the tank, the marine, and the medevac. These are the core units of Terran's mixture. If he's going mech, these core units are Thors, tanks, and kind of Hellions. If he's not making core units, then you don't need to be making a ton of units yourself. That's one of the big ways that we know to drone up. We also don't need to get tech that fast. Our layer tech, what's it really good at dealing with? It's really good at dealing with a core army. It's really good. Infestors are good at dealing with marines and tanks and medevacs. Mutilis are really good at dealing with medevacs and distracting marines and picking off tanks. Right now, we're not going to be up against that. If you're being messed with hard, if he's dropping you a lot, if he's going 2-port Banshee, if he's going double reactor Hellion, then focus on drones, defensive structures, and queens. You don't need to be getting lings and banelings. That's almost another easy way to think about it. So take everything I said, which is totally dead on correct, and then what you can do is ask yourself it from the opposite angle. So, for instance, if he's going for Banshee Marine, would building a lot of Zerglings help? Not really. What about building a lot of banelings? Not really. I mean, I won't have speed and his banshees will shoot me down. What about building roaches? Not really. He'll have banshees and he'll kill those. Notice the question, what do I do with my larva? I don't have any good answers for the units I can build. Zerglings, banelings, and roaches. So let's build drones. Hey! See how that just sort of fell out because we asked the specific question, what do I do with my larva? Alright, cool. Building spores and spines, all that good jazz. I like this, getting upgrades. Anytime where you are not under pressure of a direct core unit attack, like anytime he doesn't have marines, tanks, and medevacs coming at you, getting upgrades. When you got time, get them ups. Okay, so we're doing a little bit of these counters, but we just saw a big pack of marines coming. This was good, because we're kind of doing some aggressive scouting. We want to check out what's up. We're building a small round of units. Why? Because, literally, we just saw what he had. He had a lot of marines coming. And lings, banelings, and roaches are going to be very effective against that composition. you're noticing that it almost felt like our Ling Roach mixture was a little late. I've been chatting to a couple of Zerg buddies, IRL one-on-one, who are just not like real competitive players, or like goldish. And a lot of times they'll say things like, well, I mean, he got lucky seeing the Marines, so he actually barely got these up in time. If you are barely getting things up in time, then you're actually playing well. You're not playing risky, you're playing well. So this is actually an excellent thing to know. And again, this scout wasn't lucky. Zerg was constantly checking here and constantly checking the front, and at one point he saw a bunch of Den Mariners coming out. And, per usual, one of my favorite things to note, we want to be doing some of our larva expensive units over our larva cheap units. We could have made only Lings, but we made as many Roaches as we could. Why are we making Lings otherwise? Because we just don't have the gas. We would if we could. And probably coming up next, wouldn't be surprised to see him build some extra Roaches. But, now that we are in safe shape, yes, I especially like this building the Queens. Why? Because we're up against one of these crazy mofos who's going for his 2-pert banshee. Okay. I'm stopping it at 12 minutes again. I'm stopping it with my squeaky chair. Let me note a question that Blyer says in the chat, which I actually think is so good. Excuse me, Obier. I apologize. Obier says, why is barely holding it off good? Why is that good? Here's the reason. As a Zerg player, when do we want to win? The Hive. We want to win at Hive Tech. We occasionally do win with Ling, Baneling, Muta in the mid-game. We occasionally even win sometimes with some Ling Roach bus. But that's not when we're trying to win. If we incidentally win, great shape. So, okay, we're trying to win at Hive Tech. What does that mean? Well, that means we want to get up a lot of drones as fast as possible so we can get to a solid Hive Tech as fast as possible. We want to have as much focus on later on and as little focus on right now as possible. So, if we just barely hold something off by just barely getting the units in time, that implies that we were getting as many drones, upgrades, and tech up as humanly possible. So that is the reason why we are happy with just barely. So, now some people are saying, why don't we attack at a layer? Or saying, are you saying we shouldn't attack before Hive? No, I'm not saying you shouldn't attack, but you shouldn't be aiming to win then. For instance, if you see no units in his natural expansion and you have 12 Lings there, then by all means just go in there and kill off some workers. That's good. But you shouldn't be, for instance, saying, oh, fuck, how do I get him to have no units in his natural expansion? Because I need to kill off as many things at the natural as possible. That's the wrong thing. Wrong thing to say. So, okay. The main reason I stopped is that we're in this position again. Right? Where I want you to notice the same theme that's coming up again and again and again. The first time was at 4 minutes. Well, I guess I'll pull it back to 2 minutes. The first time was when we saw all these barracks pop out. And we said, holy crap, he's trying to be aggressive. The next time actually happened around 8 minutes, where we once again realized, upon seeing this Banshee, we realized, holy crap, this guy is not going to be going for a core army. The third moment has happened just now. I'll actually... crap. Stupid replay technology demands that I go back to 10 minutes. That's fine. I'll just play it from 10. The third time that this has happened is when we see this big Marine Banshee attack. Just general aggression. Attacking, 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 attacking. And in particular, attacks that take away from him having a normal big army. Building Banshees, investing resources that isn't a normal big army. Losing these Marines takes away from him having a normal Marine tank medevac army that's big. Anytime this happens, we are permitted as Zerg to delay our tech. The more aggressive our opponent is early, if we can swat it aside, I don't care if it's Hellion, Banshee, Marine, anything that takes away from him going for basic Marine tank medevac. Any of those, we can delay our tech. We can focus more on drones. We can get upgrades. Again, getting a Carapace upgrade early delays our layer tech. Now, why am I saying this? Why am I emphasizing this so much? A real scary spot to be in is, you know what, I'll actually come to here. This is a scary position to be in where a lot of mistakes happen as Zerg, where they will see this Banshee and realize, oh my god, he's going to be aggressive against me. I better layer right now because that's normally when I layer. Oh my god, I need to get my Mutalisks up. And then they die to this attack that happens down here. They just don't have enough support to be able to deflect against this big Marine Banshee push that happens. The second follow-up mistake that happens is right when this attack dies off, right when this attack is finally deflected. It's very tempting to say, oh my god, I deflected the attack and my layer's just done. Let me actually go spire and then gas, 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 and flood with gas and realize, oh shit, I don't have any drones. Like, that is just a generally big problem that I see so many Zergy buddies do. Right now, make sure that all your larva is spent. Build some drones. Cancel some queens. See how your money's going. And then tech up. So, I mean, like, we see one geyser go down from Dongray Gu here. He doesn't instantly triple geyser or anything like that. He just gets the one, and he's going to go back to droning. He's not instantly going, oh shit, I better get an infestation pit up. My hive should have been started by 12. Whenever, well, look at this, more damage being dealt to us by a non-marine based opening, or by non-marine type stuff. We're being, again, swung at by a player who is not going for a core mix of marine tank. So what we're going to do is we're just generally going to slow it down, focus on droning, focus on upgrading, and be in good shape. It's at this moment in time that, okay, so we lose our expansions, that's unfortunate. These little pokes from Dongray Gu are just kind of standard, reasonable pokes. They're not gigantic committal aggression, just some spotting. I actually think Dongray Gu overlinged. I genuinely think that he overlinked. We have 56 Zerglings and there's 16 Marines out on the map. I honestly think that Dongray Gu may have just gotten in the sort of like, oh my god, I'm under attack, I almost died, I better make sure I don't die. But even someone of Dongray Gu's caliber, it's very important not to make too many of these units too early on. Almost always, if your Terran opponent goes for something really unorthodox, the Zerg will have a natural tendency to respond by doing too many units. And yes, yes, FTWDY, 56 Zerglings does look cool. I actually don't even mind so much that Dongray Gu's missing some in gas, just until he gets some extra rounds up. This is quite a safe maneuver to do. I mean, obviously we might want a little additional creep spread, but we're seeing that Dongray Gu is doing his usual good stuff. And right now is a good time to demonstrate why it's good for us to focus on upgrades and delay tech. At this point in time, remember, anything that is not Marine medevac tank interrupts our core army. Hey, we went for Banshees. That interrupted his early upgrades. He is not even done with 1-1. And look at us. We actually are done with a 1-0 upgrade. We're almost done with our 1-0. We're actually almost done with our 0-2. Great. Cool. We're we're actually getting all these extra bases. In fact, one of the greatest responses to crazy gas-focused aggression is to just expand a lot afterwards. Yeah! Spend your minerals taking the expansion, because his mineral army is not going to be very big, so you don't need a big mineral army to take extra expansions. And now we have a standard situation yet again. What is the big benefit that we gain from going for Mutalisks? It's a good time buyer. We can manage space, buy time, so now is an opportune moment to build drones. Oh look, there's a drone. One is not the demonstration of my example. See, we see Zerglings getting built, but I'm still just kind of like, I'm not a fan of that, because the reason that we go for Mutalisks is so we can get away with building additional drones. I almost feel like one of the classic things, this is probably the moment where I feel like DRG slipped behind the most. Because just look at the unit tab. There's a good amount of Marines, 47 of them, but missing some of the key upgrades. And we kind of have an awkward formation of barracks without a lot of add-ons. We'll find this out when we harass in a moment. But Terran's kind of positioned defensively right now. So I would certainly have tried to get a round of 10 to 14 drones out. And be ready to do counterattack, get ready to do harassment. More droppages happening. We have 9 queens, which I quite like. That's another motivator. Why are we building so many lings when we have these 9 bonus queens that can help out so much? Where are the queens? Where are the queens, man? Where are the queens? Hell, I don't know where the queens are. But we can bring quite a lot of queenies back. And we're slowly trundling our way up to our money mix. So now in the midst of all of this, we have our expansion up. I think that it was a bit of a mistake to expand here first. I probably would have expanded there. That's probably the biggest notable little difference in the mid-game. But suddenly, we're at this position in the game where, since the 12-minute mark, I'd probably actually say since about here, remember around this 14-minute mark, when he's still coming around harassing with banshees, around now the Terran will eventually have to go back into either mech or marine tank. We've seen Marines, so we know he has to go back into Marine tank. So once we get to here, it's important that we don't really care so much that we're going 18 minutes, still going Ling, Baneling, Mutalisk. Of course, that's fine. It's that he's going for this mid-game that is the noteworthy aspect. Everything kind of got delayed by the fact that he went for this nutty Banshee-ness, but right around now, it's fine. But you're seeing, oh god, 8 drones now? We really kind of wanted those 8 drones at like 16 minutes. How could we have been permitted to do that? Well, we have Mutalisks, so we can do counter-harassment. Even if he does have a lot of Marines and a Thor at 17 minutes, he would have had that anyways. And the Marines, or the Mutalisks, are still end up being quite effective. Our Banelings were also constructed early. We could have very easily gotten those Marines, or gotten those Banelings as he was coming out to push. So I'll go ahead and stop it right here at this counterattack, so we can get a good sense of what's going up. And yeah, I want to talk about this attack. You know what? This is actually incorrect for me to pause here. I want to pause here at 18 minutes. And when we come back, we're going to watch the close of this game of DRG versus MMA. But in part 1 and 2, hopefully we got the chance to see clearly where the big windows were in our timing as Zerg to be able to get away with a lot, to get a lot of upgrades, to get a lot of drones, to get this 4th base up. And even though our Terran, let's actually come back here and just look, even though our Terran has a usual scary army, he has 70 Marines, his Thor, he has some tanks, doesn't really have a lot of medevacs. He's going to be finishing 2-2, but you know what? So are we. We're actually in good shape. In fact, at this point in time, despite everything that's going on, we've just achieved the normal Zerg vs. Terran mid-game. And it's important that we can recognize that that is hard to get to. So whenever he goes Hellion Banshee, he's making it even harder on himself. So we're going to go to a break, and we're going to finalize in part 3, wrap up this game, and take questions. Yeah. Yeah!